Do you think they'd still call me a hero if I hadn't looked so cold in the snow? That's what I kept asking myself while sitting in a silk-covered bed inside the richest house I'd ever seen. My fingers were still cracked from the cold. My hair tangled my jacket, my mother's last memory gone. Everyone was calling me brave a miracle, but the truth, I was just a homeless girl who happened to be in the right place at the wrong time, or maybe the wrong place at the right time. They said I saved 2 lives, but no one asked what it cost me. I thought the worst part was over once the babies were safe. I was wrong. What happened next changed everything, because the real danger wasn't in the snowstorm. It was hiding behind the walls of that perfect mansion, and the people who thought a girl like me could be used, blamed, then erased. Stay with me, and I'll tell you the moment I realized that being invisible had been the only thing keeping me alive. What happened next will shake you, especially when I learned who the real enemy was. Emily Carter pressed the damp cardboard tighter against her chest as the wind howled like a wild beast across the frozen New Hampshire road. It was almost 10 p.m., and the temperature was still dropping. Her shoes, torn beyond repair, had long stopped protecting her feet from the snow. Every gust of icy air felt like a slap to her face. She crouched inside the abandoned toll booth that had been her home for 3 months, a crooked tin roof leaking in 3 places, but still better than fighting other street kids for shelter under the bridges downtown. Her stomach growled again. All she'd had today was a crusty roll from a kind baker who didn't chase her off this morning. Tomorrow she'd try her luck washing windshields at the traffic lights. Sundays were usually better for coins. She curled tighter into her corner trying to fall asleep, when suddenly a sound broke the silence, a cry. Not the wind, not an animal. A baby. No, 2 babies. Emily's eyes flew open. A dream. She strained her ears. No. There it was again, wailing. Real desperate. She leapt to her feet and rushed into the storm snow, reaching her knees as she followed the sound through the trees. Under a half-dead pine tree, a wicker basket lay half-buried in snow. Inside were 2 tiny babies, soaked, shivering violently, lips tinged purple. Oh God, she breathed. Their eyes were red from crying, their fists clenched in the kind of terror only babies know. Without a second thought, Emily peeled off her only jacket, ripped dirty but warm, and wrapped it around them. The cold hit her bare arms like a whip. Her teeth chattered, but she didn't hesitate. "You're not dying tonight," she whispered, lifting them awkwardly into her thin arms. She stumbled back to the roadside, her breath, ragged legs trembling. "Someone will drive by. Someone has to," she muttered through chattering teeth. Minutes passed like hours. The snow thickened, then headlights. Emily ran into the middle of the road, waving her arms. The car skidded, stopped inches from her. The driver, a heavy man in a baseball cap, rolled down his window, stunned. "Please," she begged, voice barely audible. "They're freezing." He took one look at the scene, pulled out his phone, and snapped a photo before calling 911. Emily sank to her knees, shielding the twins with her body. 50 miles away in a penthouse office in Boston, Jack Whitmore stared blankly at the skyline. His reflection in the glass showed a man unrecognizable from a week ago, hollow-eyed, unshaven, unraveling. His twin sons, Noah and Liam, had vanished from the neonatal unit of St. Francis Hospital 7 days ago. One ransom demand, then nothing. His assistant entered quietly. "Still no word, Mr. Whitmore. The police are reviewing more footage." Jack gripped the desk. "They were taken from the most secure hospital in the city. How does that even happen?" His phone rang. "Mr. Whitmore," came the voice of Detective Daniel Brooks. "Your sons, they've been found." Jack's knees buckled. "Are they alive? Who had them?" "A young girl, homeless, about 10. She found them abandoned in the snow just outside Hudson. Abandoned. Why would the kidnappers?" He stopped. "I'm coming." As he raced through the icy streets toward the hospital, one thought pounded in his head. Something doesn't add up. Why would cold, calculated kidnappers, professionals, leave the babies out in a storm? And why did a random street kid just happen to be there at the exact time? At the hospital, Emily sat on a bench wrapped in a scratchy blanket, her skin pale, her eyes alert but guarded. Nurses cooed over the twins behind the glass wall of the NICU. Emily didn't look at them. She was focused on the plastic bag in her lap, her only possession. Dozens of reporters had already called her a hero. One had even snapped a photo of her kneeling in the snow shielding the babies. The image hit the morning front pages with the headline, "Snow Angel Saves Whitmore Twins." But to Emily, none of this felt real. She hadn't done anything special. She just couldn't walk away. The door burst open. A tall man entered, sharp suit, expensive watch, but it was the fire in his eyes that made her shrink back. Jack Whitmore. He didn't speak at first, just stared. She looked small, barely a smudge in that vast hospital corridor. "What's your name?" he finally asked. "Emily," she said softly. "Emily Carter." "Where do you live?" Emily's chin rose. "In the booth by the highway? Alone?" His jaw tensed. "How long have you been living there?" 3 months, Jack turned to Detective Brooks. "Doesn't it strike you as convenient? My children go missing, no ransom follow-up, and this girl just happens to find them." "I didn't do anything wrong," Emily cried. "I didn't take them. I saved them." "Then how did you know they'd be there? Why were you there at that exact moment?" "Because that's where I sleep," she shouted, eyes blazing. Detective Lisa Monroe, the second officer, stepped in. "Mr. Whitmore, we've questioned her thoroughly. There's no evidence she's involved." Jack studied her. Dirty nails, bruised knees, eyes like someone far older than 10. But there was something else, grit, defiance, and something honest. Still something gnawed at him. "I want to keep her under protection," he said. "If she is innocent, the people who left my children might come back for her." Emily stiffened. "I don't need your protection. I'll go back to my booth." Jack sighed. "Just for tonight. It's not charity. It's safety." She hesitated. And then, as if on cue, her stomach betrayed her with a loud growl. "Fine," she muttered, "but only for the babies." 1 hour later, a black BMW pulled through the gates of the Whitmore estate in Hudson Valley. Emily's eyes widened as the mansion came into view, taller than any building she'd ever seen up close. Lights glowed from manicured gardens. The front door opened like something out of a movie. Inside, the maid, Evelyn Harris, looked her up and down with a frown. "This is the girl. She'll be staying in the guest room," Jack said firmly. As Evelyn led her up the grand staircase, Emily clutched her plastic bag tighter. She turned briefly just in time to see Evelyn drop her torn jacket into the trash. Her stomach twisted. That jacket had once belonged to her mother. She said nothing. As she stepped into the guest room, a room bigger than the booth she had called home, she whispered to herself, "Don't get used to this." Because kindness had always come with a cost, and deep down, Emily knew this was only the beginning. Very sorry to leave you on a cliffhanger, but we'll continue this story in the next part. But if you were Emily, would you trust Jack Whitmore or run? Please like and share if this story moved you, and stay tuned for the next part. Emily didn't sleep that night. She lay in the giant guest bed staring at the crystal chandelier above her, unable to shake the image of Evelyn Harris tossing her jacket into the trash like it was nothing. That jacket had been her last connection to her mother, the only thing left from a time when she was still held in someone's arms. Now it was gone, thrown away in a house where everything sparkled, but nothing felt safe. Somewhere across the hallway, the babies Noe and Liam were sleeping in luxury, wrapped in warmth, unaware of the storm swirling around them. Emily had saved their lives, yet instead of gratitude, she'd been met with suspicion, as if she'd crawled out of the shadows to commit a crime, not prevent one. The next morning, she sat alone at a massive breakfast table, too intimidated to touch the silverware. Evelyn brought her eggs and toast without a word, then lingered nearby, pretending to clean. Emily knew she was being watched. Jack Whitmore entered the room a few minutes later, coffee in hand, his suit perfect, his expression unreadable. "You didn't eat," he observed. "I'm not hungry," she lied. He sat across from her, silent for a moment. "The detectives are coming this afternoon. Just a few more questions. You're not in trouble." Emily met his gaze. "I told them everything." "You told them what you think is important. But there might be more. Something small you didn't realize you saw or heard." She hesitated. There was something. 3 days before she found the twins, she had seen a black van parked near the toll booth. 2 men were inside. One of them had said something about the hospital and waiting for the call. At the time, she thought they were just weird delivery guys or maybe drug dealers. But now, If she said anything, would they believe her, or would they twist it into more suspicion? Her instinct said, stay quiet. That afternoon, Rachel Evans arrived. The journalist didn't come with a camera crew or notebook. She came in jeans and a plain white blouse, her hair pulled back, eyes calm. She didn't look like the other reporters who had tried to shove microphones in Emily's face. I'm Rachel, she said, sitting beside Emily on the stairs overlooking the garden. Can we talk? Emily didn't respond. I don't want your story, Rachel continued. I want to make sure you're okay. Kids who help solve crimes often become victims in other ways. I want to make sure that doesn't happen to you. Emily looked at her for a long time before whispering, You believe me, I don't know you, but I'm listening. That cracked something inside Emily. She told Rachel everything. The black van, the bearded man, and the heavy one with a cap, the word hospital, the fear of being blamed. Rachel's face grew grave. You need to tell the detectives. No, Emily said sharply. If I do, they'll say I was in on it. They might, but I won't let them. Rachel promised she'd help, and later that evening, she convinced Emily to repeat her story to Detectives Brooks and Monroe. Their faces changed when they heard about the van. Details clicked, timelines shifted. Then came the twist that chilled Emily to the bone. Detective Monroe leaned forward. Did you see that van again? Emily nodded slowly. The night I ran away. It was parked outside the mansion. Lights off. Someone tried the garden door. Panic filled Jack's face. Rachel looked at the detectives. They're watching her. She's a target, Detective Brooks said grimly. And they know where she is. That night, every shadow felt like a threat. Emily couldn't sleep again. Her fingers clutched the edge of her blanket as she listened for any sound, a creak, a breath, anything out of place. At 3:17 a.m., she awoke to silence. Too much silence. The hum of the heater, usually steady, had stopped. She got up, tiptoed to the window, and parted the curtain. There it was, the black van. At the end of the street, no lights, engine off. Her breath caught in her throat. She ran to Jack's room, knocked, no answer. Opened the door empty, the bed untouched. Terror surged through her chest. She darted to the twins' nursery. The cribs were empty, no Noah, no Liam. Her knees almost gave out. Had they come back? Had they taken them again? Downstairs, the living room was dark, but a single note sat on the coffee table. With shaking hands, Emily turned on a lamp and read it. Took the boys to the hospital. Emergency. Evelyn's here. Back tomorrow. Jay. An emergency at 3 a.m. Without waking her. Her instincts screamed. A noise from the garden froze her blood. Footsteps. Then scraping at the door. Emily turned off the light, hard hammering. She ducked behind the couch. She had to choose stay and risk being caught, or run. She chose to run. She grabbed her plastic bag, crept to the second-floor bathroom, climbed onto the sink, and squeezed through the window above the garage. She had done it before. The night streets had taught her how. She dropped to the cold ground, darted through the bushes, and slipped between the bars of the rear gate. Her small frame barely made it. Once outside, she ran. Fast, no shoes, no coat, only fear pushing her forward. She didn't stop until she reached the familiar alleys of Cambridge. The farmer's market was closed, but she knew how to slip into the back courtyard. She hid behind old crates, trembling teeth chattering. Her thoughts spun. Were the twins safe? Did Jack leave? Or did something worse happen? At dawn, she crept toward Mrs. Rosa's tortilla stand, stomach screaming for food. Emily, Mrs. Rosa gasped. Everyone's looking for you. The police, a journalist, and a man with 2 babies. Emily blinked. The babies, they're safe. He's been out of his mind worried about you. As she ate the warm tortilla, a black BMW pulled up. Jack jumped out first, then Rachel. Emily, Rachel cried, racing toward her. You're okay, Jack followed, holding the twins in carriers. His eyes were red, his suit wrinkled, his voice trembling. Why did you leave? He asked. Emily stared at him. There was a van outside. You were gone. I thought you took the babies to hide them from me. Jack looked stunned. Emily, Noah had a fever. I took him to the hospital. I left a note. I saw the van. Someone tried the door. Rachel paled. Jack turned to her, then to Emily. We need to call the police, right now. Very sorry to pause here, but we'll continue this intense story. If you were Emily, would you risk returning to the mansion or disappear forever? Please like this video and share it if it kept you on edge. The next part is coming soon. The ride back to the Whitmore estate was quiet but not empty. In the back seat, Emily sat curled up next to Rachel, Noah, and Liam, sleeping peacefully in their carriers beside them. Jack drove in silence, glancing in the rearview mirror every few minutes, his face a mixture of guilt, fear, and something else Emily hadn't seen before. Respect. The police arrived shortly after. Detectives Brooks and Monroe took Emily's new statement, this time with more urgency. Rachel stayed close, gently guiding Emily through every word. When she mentioned the van returning and the shadow at the garden door, Detective Brooks grew visibly tense. "They're watching," he said, "which means they're planning something bigger or trying to clean up what went wrong." That's when the question came, "Emily, would you be willing to help us set a trap?" Jack immediately said no. "But Emily," she hesitated. "They already know my face," she said quietly. "They followed me. I'm not scared of them. Not anymore." Jack knelt down beside her. "You don't need to do this. You're just a child." Emily looked him in the eye. "Your sons are alive because I was there. What if next time another kid isn't as lucky?" The plan was simple. Emily would return to the toll booth under surveillance. She'd act like nothing had changed, just a homeless kid going back to the only place she knew. The police would be hidden. Rachel would be watching from a distance. And Jack refused to leave her side. That dawn, Emily walked back along the snowy trail to her old shelter. Her jacket, now patched and clean, hid a bulletproof vest underneath. A small mic was clipped to her collar. The cold bit at her fingers, but she didn't flinch. This time she wasn't alone. Inside the booth, everything was the same. Damp newspapers, rusty cans, her old corner. But then something new. A photograph slipped under the damp cardboard. It was her, sleeping. From weeks ago. "They were watching me even then," she whispered. Before she could react, the door slammed shut. Locked. Voices outside, male, rough, too familiar. "That's her," one said. "The kid that ruined everything." "What do we do with her?" "She knows too much." The boss said, "Clean it up." Emily backed into the wall, her breath catching. The mic in her ear buzzed. "We're here," Detective Brooks said. "Hold tight." The door creaked open. The two men stepped inside exactly as she remembered, one thin, with a beard, the other heavy with a baseball cap. Their eyes gleamed with recognition. "Hello again," the thin one said. "Missed us?" Emily didn't answer. "You made a mess," the heavy man added, "and now the boss wants it cleaned." "I know who your boss is," she said. "It's over." They froze for just a second, then a whisper. "Get rid of her." Before they could move, the door burst open with a flash of light and shouting. Police flooded the booth. Within seconds, both men were on the ground, restrained. Jack pushed through the chaos, grabbing Emily and wrapping his arms around her. "You're okay. You did it." At the station, the interrogation revealed the unthinkable. The mastermind behind the kidnapping was Thomas Whitmore, Jack's own brother. Fueled by envy and the promise of power, he'd planned to use the kidnapping to push Jack into stepping down from the company. When Emily found the babies, his plans unraveled. But Thomas wasn't going down quietly. He was already at the airport, heading to Switzerland. Jack didn't hesitate. "I'm going after him." Rachel and Emily followed. At JFK International, they spotted him near Gate 12. Jack called out, voice thunderous, "Thomas." His brother turned, froze, then ran. Security chaos. Shouting. A chase through the terminal. But Emily, small and fast, ducked between passengers and cut him off near the baggage carousel. "You wanted to blame me because I'm nobody," she said. "But I'm not invisible." Thomas tried to shove past her, but Jack was there, tackling him to the ground. As officers pulled Thomas away in cuffs, he screamed about power, betrayal, and being the rightful heir. Jack didn't respond. He only turned to Emily, still stunned by everything she'd just done. "You were the one no one believed," he whispered, "and you were the one who saved us all." 3 months later, spring touched the Hudson Valley estate with warmth. Emily sat in the garden, Noah and Liam crawling in the grass beside her. She laughed as Liam tried to eat a flower petal, scooping him into her arms. Jack stepped outside in jeans and a soft flannel shirt, miles away from the man in a suit she'd first met. "Hungry again?" he asked, handing her a bottle. "They're always hungry," she teased. "Like me." back then. He smiled, sitting beside her. Do you ever miss it? The streets. She paused. Sometimes. I liked knowing I could run if I needed to. Now, I don't want to run. But I like knowing I could. Jack nodded. You'll always have a choice. This place, it's your home, but never your prison. Emily leaned back, watching the babies giggle in the sunlight. I used to think the only way to survive was to be invisible, she said. Now I know. Sometimes being seen is the thing that saves you. Jack looked at her, truly looked at her. You saved more than just my sons, Emily. You saved me too. Rachel arrived that evening for dinner, holding a stack of papers. Guess what she said? The article series about your story, it won an award. And I have a scholarship program being created in your name. Emily's eyes widened. A scholarship for girls who've lived on the streets, like you, like who you used to be. Tears burned behind Emily's eyes, but she didn't cry. Not this time. Because now, for the first time in her life, she didn't feel broken. She felt whole. If you were Emily, would you have taken the risk and returned to the trap? What do you think about Jack's transformation? Was it genuine or too late? We'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about this story? If it touched you, comment number 3 below. Comment number 1 if it didn't meet your expectations, and number 2 if it felt just okay. Also, let us know what country you're watching from. We love hearing from our audience around the world. And don't forget to like, tap the heart, and share this story with someone who needs a reminder of hope.